Good morning, guys. Somehow I've not slept all night but got a little bit of energy. Maybe my adrenals, but I still need a stick to keep me from wobbling this week. This is the new children's home, and these huge openings are going to be, I specially did aluminium windows to the floor, so when the disabled children are laying down, which most of the time they are if they have cerebral palsy, they can look outside. And then this area here I will landscape to become a beautiful garden, I hope. So this morning, as I walk around Feathersdale at sunrise, which with me being sick I've not done for far too long, I really get a strong feeling of talking about grace and what grace is in my life, and my testament to what grace can do in your life if it did it in mine. And I'm talking about the grace of God, which is the purest grace of all, I'm sure. So, as I walk around here, I'm sure you can all begin to understand how overwhelming it is for me every time I do. Every person I see, I know their story, and every person I see, aside from some of our more educated staff, come from very, very difficult backgrounds. And when I see them and I know they've got a roof over their heads and a salary, some of them, and food, and their children are cared for, I can't help but be very warmed in my heart by that. And as I look around on this land, which not so long ago was beautiful in its own right, but now I'm in the corner of Feathersdale and you can't see anything for trees, but you wouldn't think that just beyond there is residential homes that I, at the request and behest, instruction and support of God, built over these last 5 years. And it houses close to 100 people who were in need, 60 of which are disabled children. I've taken every drug you can think of. I've committed every supposed physical pleasure, which I now refer to as physical sin, sins of the flesh. And I can tell you now, if you add them all up and times them by 1,000 or 1,000,000 or 1,000,000,000, they don't come close to the high in my heart when I stand and look at this. When God called me here, I was still a drug addict. God sees potential in everyone, in every state, and He, like any good father, any good parent, He gives you that opportunity to prove your worth. Gives you a chance, purpose, meaning, to the best of His ability. It just so happened that mine was this. I was a terrible man. And I'm not afraid to say it, because I'm no longer ever afraid to tell the truth. I took drugs, chased women, chased sex, not women. I didn't care about the women, I cared about their bodies, sadly. I gambled, I drank, I lied, I cheated, I stole. And as St. Francis said, I have been all things unholy. If God can work through me, He can work through anyone. And by His relentless love for me and everybody, and His forgiveness and His grace, all of this was made possible. simply by the grace of God. He gave me a sign. Many of you know that sign was a number, which I followed. When I followed it, I found God in the most deepest of ways. By His grace, which I now access by fasting and prayer and alms, to speak in a traditional Christian tongue. Or as I would prefer to call it rather than alms, doing what's right, helping those in need. And I uploaded a video the other day of before this was even existing, before it was even an idea in my mind, before God had qualified me enough to trust me with all of these resources, and as the guardian of some of the most special children in the world. Perhaps a little biased because I'm their father, though. Aren't all children special? And stand here now. I can hear them because I'm sick, getting my son ready for school. Of course, not Aslan. And I just absolutely love. I love that despite my mistakes, which I still make, and despite my transgressions, despite the fact sometimes I fall into my flesh even now, and I fall into anger, and recently I even didn't speak to God because I was so frustrated with my sickness. As soon as I fast, He's waiting for me. And pours love into me. Pours it. I believe you can know Christ. I believe you can know Christ while working and supporting your family without any problem. But I also believe that you can know Christ in a certain depth which I don't know. I don't know the depth that people feel Christ. But I can't help but feel that the depth I feel Him when I look at this place is right into my core. And I hope and pray other people, if you know Christ, can feel that. And if you don't know Christ, can find hope in my testimony. By His grace, I went from a man who tried to kill himself. I then became lost in drugs, alcohol, gambling, debauchery, fornication. Is fornication okay to say for a single person? Sex with people I shouldn't have been sleeping with. Drugs, alcohol, a lot. Just everything wicked about the world. I was called to by the prince of this world, Satan. And despite all of the heinous deeds I did, he was waiting for me because he knew me, even when I did not. And from a man who nearly killed himself, a man who was addicted to drugs, a man who was nothing good. In 5 years of service, I stand in the corner of a very fast expanding village we call Feather's Tail, which I built with God. You can hear my rescue dogs, nearly 100 of them, barking. I know my boys at Angel's Gate are waking up and going to school instead of waking up on the street and looking for food. I can see our children's home over the road we call Butterfly House. I can see the children getting ready to leave for school. Hundreds of employees here, over 100, who all deserve it, need it in this country. If God can bring me here, and a beautiful wife and son, biological son, as well as my other sons, but if God can do that for me, Do it for anyone. You know. And then above all else, as I wake up on a morning in beautiful village that he allowed to be my home and blessed me with, and we created together. I get to look out on one of the world's most beautiful and iconic sites. God's grace can save anything. To have God's grace be upon you and to hear Him and the directions He has for your life, to take you to things you couldn't even have dreamed possible. You can't fight to take things out of yourself. You can't fight to take your addiction away. You can't fight to take your sin away. Your unruly behaviours, your fleshly behaviours that go against your heart. What you have to do is find a way to fill yourself with His grace, to fill yourself with the Holy Spirit, as Christians would say. And it's like you're a cup, like you're a glass filled with something. You know, milk maybe, some substance. And you start to run water into it, and it takes time, you know. The water doesn't immediately push that out of there. The water churns it up and changes colour, and it's murky for a while. As long as you keep running that water in, as long as you keep inviting God and His grace in, eventually it'll turn clear. And once it turns clear, you get this eureka moment. And when you get that eureka moment, you realise that at least at that moment, you're clean enough to invite the Holy Spirit into you. And by the grace of God, when that happens, get ready. Get ready to live a life walked into a cobweb. Get ready to live a life more fulfilling than anyone ever told you life could be. That's the grace of God. My life is my testimony. I know God. God doesn't drag men from where I was to where I am without me knowing who God is. Man can't do this on his own, and Satan doesn't do this. That's my testimony. I'm not perfect, don't have all the answers, but I can say for certain, I'm damn sure I know how to hear God. And the simplest tools are the three most talked about: fasting, prayer and alms. Right. I have some prayers to say. Sadly, we buried a quite far along miscarried child this week in the corner of our land, and I wish to do a fundraiser to build a memorial area for those children who have passed in our care and those we've tried to help and have passed outside our care. And I couldn't sleep last night, so I will do my morning prayers here, and then I shall retire. So excuse me. Don't think I'll bother editing that out. Good reminder. I'm human like you, and I sneeze at inappropriate times. nothing grander. Nothing will make a man stronger than the grace of God. Even if you're lost or found, it can strengthen you from the position you're in. But if you're lost, now it's 2018, 2011, you're still a drug addict. Be patient. Let him take you into his service. Don't lose hope. Love you all.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was